Good morning. My name is Anggara, and today I am going to present my story, which is Once Upon a Massacre. And the story is I made it on my own. So let's begin. Once in the dying light of 1980s, a soldier named Elias Kane came home from the eastern jungle with half his soul still burning behind his eyes. The bus left him at the crossroads. The wind carried the stink of burning hair and fat. He ran barefoot, boots long lost, lungs raw, until he saw the house. His house roaring like a furnace. Through the window, he saw Abigail on her knees, hair on fire, arms welded to little Samuel in a final embrace. The boy's mouth was open in a scream. Elias felt in his teeth. The crowd stood in a ring, face shining with sweat and rapture. Burn the witch barn! The preacher shrieked, voice cracking with ecstasy. God's judgment! The baker howled together, pitchfork and torches trembling. Elias came through them like a landslide. Someone fired. The buckshot peeled his scalp back in a wet, flat, hot blood sheeted over his eyes. He dropped, fingers clawing the dirt, still reaching for the doorway. Abby! Samuel! Daddy's here! Boots kicked him, silent as the roof collapsed. They dragged him, half conscious, to the county hospital, chained both wrists and both ankles to the iron bed frame. Sheriff Dow leaned close, breath sour with whiskey and bribes. You're gonna hang with this cane. Whole town saw you set the fire. Elias' good eye fixed on him, his voice was soft, almost wondering. I'm going to open you like a letter, Sheriff, slowly. That night, the deputy on guard lit a cigarette, turned to ash the moment Elias' thumb and he dislocated the jungle at the years ago popped back into joint. The chain link parted with a sound like a wishbone snapping. Elias rose, took the deputy's own handcuffed key, and used the cuff to garrote him against the bed rail until the man's tongue bulged purple and his heel dropped dying tattoo on the linoleum. He left the deputy folded backward over the rail, spine cracked, cigarette still burning between dead lips. Then Elias walked out wearing the deputy's coat, blood dripping from the cuff. They hunted him for 5 days, 29 men, dogs, floodlights, radios cracking lies. The forest swallowed them all. The forest swallowed them all. He took them the way the jungle had taught him, patient, intimate, and without mercy. The baker he found pissing against a pine. Elias stepped from the dark, pressed the cold flat of the hatchet under the man's chin, lifted their eyes meet. Remember refusing my wife's bread because our boys were marked? He asked, voice gentle, almost conversational. The baker whimpered, stream of urine still running down his leg. Elias smiled, but no warmth at all. Open wide, the blade came down, edged first through the roof of the mouth, splitting tongue and bloody, pinning the scream inside the skull. The baker dropped, choking on his own blood. heels drumming moss. Elias knelt, sawed until the head came free with a wet pop, then set it on a stump, facing the trail so the next hunter would see. A deputy, he got shot at dawn, then followed the blood trail for 2 miles while the boy begged, voice high and cracking, "Please, mister, I got a girl back home." Elias crouched beside him where he'd finally collapsed, intestines steaming in the cold air. "So did I," he whispered and pushed the loops back inside the tender care before opening the throat, ear to ear. The deputy's last sound was a bubbling sigh that smelled of copper and breakfast bacon. The preacher he found praying beneath a cedar. Elias stepped on the man's clasped hand until bones cracked like kindling. "Pray louder," he suggested, voice soft as falling ash. When the preacher's voice rose to a shriek, Elias fed the page through the man's Bible into his mouth, one by one, until the screaming stopped and only muffled retching remained. Then he split the skull to let the lies spill out. One by one, they died, smelling their own bowels, tasting their own blood, hearing Elias' quiet voice, naming their crimes. When it was over, the forest floor was black and slick. Crows, too stuffed to fly. He returned to the ruin at first light. The stench of cooked meat still hung sweet and sickening. Abigail and Samuel lay fused together in bedroom, her arms locked around Samuel so tightly the fire had not been able to separate them. Elias dropped on his knees. The howl that came out of him sent every living thing running. He dug their grave with his bare hands until fingernails tore off the earth, ran red. When he laid them in, Abigail's charred cheek still rested against Samuel's curls. "I love you," he told them, voice shredded. "Wait for me. I am almost done." 7 nights he walked the forest with a rope, tasting pine sap and his own blood, asking the dark why it had chosen his light to put out. On the 7th midnight, he found the perfect oak, knotted the rope, stood on the stump, noose snug. "Abby, Samuel, I'm coming home." Then a gunshot rang, a child screamed, and the rope fell. He ran until his heart burst against his rib. He burst onto an old logging road, a battered out-of-state pickup, idle, headlights blazing. A stranger stood swaying, shotgun smoking, and at his feet a woman lay, chest shut, blood pumping in rhythmic spurts. 10 feet away knelt a girl no older than 12, nightgown soaked crimson, cradling mother's head and screaming without sound, only rocking and rocking and rocking. The man snarled, slurred, racked the pump, and jammed. Elias stepped into the light, and the stranger squinted. "Who the fuck?" The hatchet took his right hand off the wrist. The shotgun clattered away, still clutching severed fingers. The man stared at the stump, mouth working in drowned confusion. Elias swung again, lower this time. The blade bit deep into the belly, ripped sideways. Coils of intestine spilled out like wet blue-white robe. The man made high, startled sound and tried to stuff them back in with his remaining hand. Elias grabbed a fistful of hair, yanked the head back, and spoke for the first time in a weak voice, hoarse and infinite. "You like hurting little girls?" The man tried to answer. Only pink froth came. Elias began to chop, steady, rhythmic, the way a lumberjack fells a tree. Bone chips flew, blood hissed on the hot engine block. When he finished, the body was in pieces, too numerous to count, the face unrecognizable, the clearing stinking of gun smoke, gasoline, and slaughterhouse. Silence, except for the wet drip of blood and the girl's broken breathing. Elias let the hatchet fall. It stuck upright in the dirt like a grave marker. He turned. The girl stood trembling, gray green eyes huge. She stared at the carnage, then at him. Slowly, her chin lifted. Her voice came out raw, small, but steady. Did he suffer? Elias' knees buckled. He sank into the blood-wet gravel, hands open, arms up, showing her the ruin of them. His voice cracked like splitting wood. Yes, darling, he suffered. She took one step, then another, then ran the last street and crashed into him. Tiny arms locked around his neck. Her whole body shook with sobs that smelled of chloride and her mother's blood. Elias wrapped his arms around her as though she were made of blown glass, rocking her, murmuring broken nonsense into her hair. Shh, I've got you. I've got you. You're safe now. After a long time, her crying quieted to hiccups. She pulled back just far enough to look at him, nose running, cheeks streaked back, black and red. I'm Lily Harper, she whispered. Mama's gone. She shot her because she tried to drive us away from it forever. Elias brought a strand of bloody hair from her face, finger that trembled worse than hers. I'm Elias Kane, he said, voice thick, and I'm so sorry I wasn't faster, Miss Lily. Her lower lip quivered, then the smallest voice imaginable. I don't have anybody left in Roland. I don't have anybody left in the whole world. A pause. Will you be my papa now? The word broke the last piece of him that was still whole. Elias pressed his forehead to hers, tears cutting clean trails through the gore on his cheeks. Lily Harper, he said, every word shaking. I would crawl through every hell ever made to be your papa. If you'll have me, I'm yours till the stars burns out. She gave one tremendous sigh, as though her soul finally believed it could rest and burrow back into his chest. Here no, he rose, lifting her easily, cradling her the way he once cradled Samuel after nightmares. She tucked her head under his chin, arms tight around his neck. Ready to go home, little bug? He asked, voice rough with love too big to fit inside a man. She nodded against his throat. Ready, Papa? Hand in small hand, the butcher and the orphan turned from the headlights and walked into the deep green that had already chosen them both. Behind them, the truck lights dimmed and died. Ahead, the pines parted like a mother opening her arms. Somewhere beyond the dark, Abigail pressed Samuel close and smiled through shining tears. Because their alliance had found the last light, the world had not managed to kill. The forest closed gently, jealously, forever. And on the nights when the wind moves raw through the branches, you can still hear them, a deep, gentle rumble, saying, "Sleep now, little one." Papa's got the dark watch, and a child's fearless laughter answering from the heart of the green. The trees bow as they pass. They always will. Thank you. That is my presentation of my story. I know there's some mistakes, so goodbye.